Welcome to Women's Rugby Rundown 229 for January 5th through the 11th. This week we celebrate a historic sweep in Spain as El Salvador secures the Iberian Cup to complete their quartet of major titles. We also look at a major financial boost for Kenya's Olympic journey and the announcement of a landmark first ever meeting between South Africa and the Black Ferns on South African soil. In the Celtic Challenge, the Wolfhounds continue to assert their dominance by remaining undefeated through 3 rounds of play. Finally, we round things out with league-leading performances in the United States, Japan, Italy, and Spain as clubs fight for playoff positioning in the second half of their seasons. I'm Wendy, here to bring you the latest in women's rugby news. This is your Women's Rugby Rundown, and we're about to kick off. Let's do Sevens news first. Kenya's Olympic dreams just got a major financial shot in the arm. Both the Shujaa and the Lionesses are set to benefit from a $50,000 scholarship from the International Olympic Committee to help them through the 2028 Los Angeles cycle. The squads are already getting to work ahead of the Sevens 2 tournament in Nairobi next month. This kind of funding is exactly what they need to keep the momentum going as they chase a permanent spot on the World Series. Now we'll hop over to international 15s news. Spain officially has a new powerhouse. El Salvador put on a masterclass against Sport Crab, walking away with a 51-12 win to lift the Iberian Cup for the first time in their club history. They actually fell behind early, but then went on a tear, scoring 29 points before halftime and finishing with 8 tries. This win is huge because it completes a total sweep for the club. They now hold the League, Queen's Cup, Super Cup, and Iberian Cup trophies all at the same time. Over in the Celtic Challenge, the Wolfhounds are looking pretty much untouchable. They're still undefeated after a clinical 50-12 win over Edinburgh at Hive Stadium. Glasgow finally got their first win of the season by taking down Gwalia 31-19, and the Clovers held on for a tight 15-12 win against Brighton. The Irish sides are definitely making a statement at the top of the table right now. Welsh Rugby leadership is heading to the hot seat this month. WRU bosses are scheduled to face questioning from members of parliament in Westminster regarding their controversial plans to cut down the number of professional regional teams. We are already seeing grassroots clubs call for a vote of no confidence. Even though a lot of the headlines focus on the men's side, these structural changes are going to have a massive impact on the future funding and pathways for the women's game in Wales. In the UK, the Rugby Players Association is making sure women have a dedicated seat at the table. Red Roses star Abby Burton has been elected as the first ever chair of their new Women's Rugby Board. While other countries have their own player committees, this is a landmark step for the UK-based RPA. Burton will lead reps from every PWR club to make sure the players have a direct voice on things like professional standards and welfare. Get ready for a historic showdown in Johannesburg. South Africa is set to host the New Zealand Black Ferns for the first time ever on home soil on September 5th. This one is going to be a massive doubleheader at FNB Stadium alongside the Springboks and All Blacks. The Springbok women reached the top 10 in the world rankings last year, and they are clearly eager to test themselves against the 6-time world champion Black Ferns in front of a home crowd. Scotland is making some big moves behind the scenes as well. Former Wales and Fiji coach Johan Cunningham has officially joined the Scotland women's staff as a senior assistant coach. He'll be working with Sione Fukufuka at their new high-performance base in Edinburgh. This is all part of Scotland's big push to professionalize, which included a record number of player contracts being handed out late last year as they start the new World Cup cycle. Now we'll look at domestic and club news. The 12th All-Japan Women's Rugby Football Championship semifinals are set for January 17th, featuring a unique co-hosting arrangement with Japan Rugby League One men's matches. Kanto tournament winners Yokohama will face the Japan University of Economics Amaterus, while the Mia Pearls take on the Artemis Stars. These matches serve as a critical pathway for athletes aiming for the Olympics and the 2029 Rugby World Cup, with the final scheduled for February 1st at Chichi-Buno-Miya Rugby Stadium. The USA club scene is heating up as most teams are back after the winter break. The Northern region is seeing a concentrated battle for dominance as teams fight to solidify their position in the mid-season standings. In Mid-America, the St. Louis Sabres have established themselves as the team to beat, showing consistent form and a powerful defensive line. Meanwhile, the Rocky Mountain is currently being controlled by the Colorado Springs Pike Peaks, who have utilized their high-altitude home advantage to stay atop the table. The Pacific region is seeing a high-scoring start and a mix of dominant veterans and rising developmental sides. In NorCal, the All Blues set a blistering pace in their D1 opener, securing a massive 95-7 win over the Sacramento Amazons. While the Amazons fell in that crossover, they are currently the frontrunners in the NorCal D2 standings. Up in the Pac Northwest, the Portland Pigs are enjoying a perfect season, with their D2 side remaining undefeated through 3 matches. The Pigs' success extends to their developmental league as well, with their second side currently leading the D3 standings. Meanwhile, in the Southwest, the Landsharks have claimed the top spot in D2 after a high-scoring 52-39 victory over the Atomic Sisters. The Gulf Coast is seeing some incredible offensive performances as teams battle for division control. In the Red River Premiership, Life University has made a massive impact, racking up a 150-point differential in just 2 wins to take the lead. Over in Rocky Mountain D1, the Utah Vipers continue their steady run at the top of the table. In D2 action, Atlanta 2.0 and Charlotte are setting the pace in the Carolinas, while Little Rock continues to lead. The Atlantic region is currently in its winter hiatus, but the standings show some clear favorites emerging as teams prepare for the spring restart. Philadelphia are holding on to the top spot in the D1 Atlantic with a crucial slate of matches set to resume on March 21st. In D2, James River has taken control of the Capital Division with a 3-1 record, while Phoenixville remains untouchable in the EPRU. The competition in D3 is equally fierce as the Baltimore Flamingos and DC Revolution lead their respective Capital subdivisions with undefeated records. In the EPRU, York and Lancaster Thorns currently lead the pack after a strong fall campaign. In Spain's Iberdrola League, El Salvador is still perfect. Coming off the Iberian Cup win, they've moved to 9-0 after a 50-26 victory over Cisneros. Getxo is still breathing down their necks in second place after a dominant 32-0 shutout against Majadahonda. As we get closer to the end of the first phase, teams like Crat Coruña and Olympico are picking up some really important wins to help them climb out of the bottom of the standings. It was a high-scoring weekend in Ireland for round 10 of the Nigeria AIL. Blackrock put up a massive 78-8 score against Cook, and UL Bohemians stayed perfect with a 36-0 win over Ballincollig. We saw 5 total bonus point wins this weekend, with Railway Union and Wicklow also taking care of business. The gap between the top of the table and the rest of the pack is definitely starting to widen. Finally, Italy has a new leader in the Series A. Villorba jumped into first place with a 28-5 bonus point win against Cus Torino. Colorno is also standing in playoff contention after a 31-0 shutout against Benetton. Valsugana sits in second with a game in hand, so the race for the top spot is going to be one to watch as we head into the second half of the season. That does it for us. As always, there's more news on our site at yscrugby.com. Never miss an episode of Women's Rugby Rundown. Listen anywhere you get your podcasts from.